And welcome back to North of the Broad. Bennett Schiller is with us now. He is with, of course, his own law firm, Schiller and Hamilton, right here in the Beaufort area. Bennett, it's good to have you back.
Thank you for having me back.
So we're talking specifically today about pedestrian safety.
That's correct.
And you're going to give us some tips about that. We'll relate it back to the law firm. And if you are injured, what should you do? But let's begin with what is when we say pedestrian? How do you define pedestrian?
Well, a pedestrian is anyone not in a motor vehicle, and the reason I find this topic to be very important is because Beaufort is very pedestrian friendly. We have a lot of people visiting from out of town.
Right.
A lot of people want to get out, especially now that it's warming up. We see people wanting to get out and walk, run for whatever reason they want to run, ride their bikes, skateboards, hovercrafts. They just want to get out and enjoy all that the Lowcountry has to offer. But unfortunately, that can be very dangerous when you're interacting with motor vehicles.
Right.
And so pedestrian is anyone that's not in a motor vehicle. And those are typically, like I said, runners, joggers, walkers, bikers, skateboarders, rollerbladers, all of those folks.
And so let's go through some of the tips that you need to share with us, or we need to learn about some of the safety tips. Walking, which way should you walk, against traffic, run, what about a bicycle, all of that. So kind of review for us some of those safety tips.
Sure, I've been representing pedestrians for 26 years and I see a lot of very common mistakes being made. Even in my own neighborhood, people tend to walk on the wrong side of the road, or they ride their bike on the wrong side of the road. The general rule is if you're on your feet, if you're walking or running, you're facing traffic. You should be walking, and that way you can see traffic coming towards you.
Right.
And if you need to step out of the way or jump out of the way of a vehicle that may not be paying attention. So if you're walking or running, if you're on your feet, you walk towards traffic. If you're coming in the opposite, or if you're on a bicycle, or if you're on wheels, typically with traffic.
With traffic.
And either one of those are rules that are important because it can help provide you a safer experience. So those are the common mistakes. Other things that we see a lot of times are people riding their bike or walking with ear pods or headphones.
I was going to ask you about that.
And it prevents them from being able to hear oncoming traffic, or they're distracted. They may be talking with a friend, running along or jogging, and they're talking and they're not paying attention. And now we have food trucks and we have different things. So we see another common mistake, people eating while they're walking. And that can be very dangerous too, because you're not paying attention
or
to
on your
the
phone.
traffic. Or on your phone.
What
we
about
see that. Oh yeah, you see that all the time, people texting while they're walking.
Yes, terrible.
Right here. Matter of fact, on the way here today, I noticed somebody walking across, not in a crosswalk, between cars, and they're on their cell phone, and they walk right out in front of a car that was in front of me. So yeah, anything that causes you to be distracted while you're out walking or jogging can be very dangerous.
Okay, so let's talk about if you're injured, if you are hit. What should you do?
Well, there's a couple of things. Obviously, you want to get to safety.
Right.
You want to make sure that you're out of harm's way.
Right.
And if you're injured, we suggest that you would call EMS, have the police perhaps come out and fill out a report. And also, if you need medical treatment, you need to do that immediately. But also, you want to make sure that you have any witnesses. There's people that may have seen what happened. Because a lot of accidents, just because you're in the crosswalk, for instance, doesn't necessarily mean you have the right of way.
Okay.
And especially in some intersections are rather confusing. And if the vehicle's not going to stop, you should not walk out in front of them just because you're in a crosswalk. It certainly can be very dangerous. And one of the mistakes that I see people make all the time is not paying attention to traffic coming from other roadways. So like in an intersection, if somebody's turning onto the road that you're crossing, they may not see you, that their vision may be blocked and they may not see you, even though they would be probably considered to be at fault. You can avoid the injury simply by making sure that it's safe in all directions. And what I tell people all the time is, you want to keep your head on a swivel, right? When people are interacting, when they're walking and there's cars, sometimes cars can't see you. There may be something blocking their view. It could be, a hedge. It could be a sign. It could be another vehicle that's maybe parked on the side of the road there. And so the best safety tip that I would recommend everyone follow is just assume that the driver doesn't see you.
Right.
Always make that assumption. If you make that assumption, and that is something that I get because I ride motorcycles, and when you're riding a motorcycle, you always have to assume that the other driver doesn't see you, that they're going to pull out in front of you, because it's hard for them sometimes to identify how fast a motorcycle is traveling or to determine the distance, because they're used to seeing two headlights versus one. So, best tip I can give is to always make sure or always assume that the driver
they
doesn't
can't
see
see you.
Correct.
So Bennett, when would someone need to contact your law office or you, or why would they want to do that?
Well, obviously, it's because they've been injured by a motor vehicle. Right. Those vehicles are typically insured by an insurance company. And the sooner you call, the sooner we can start our investigation, find out if there's any witnesses, and go out to the scene and get photos. But typically, if you've been injured due to no fault of your own, you would be entitled to recovery. And that's why we have insurance on our automobiles. And if you're driving a vehicle and you strike a pedestrian, your insurance company typically would be the one responsible for covering their financial loss. So the sooner the better. The
sooner the better. And you would guide that individual through, and there's a lot of education with all of that. So you really care about your clients.
Sure, and making sure that they get properly. The duty is to make them whole again. Right. They have financial losses and non-economic damages as well. Yes. We just want to make sure that they're made whole again.
Very good. So we have like 15 seconds left. Any kind of final tip?
Well, the biggest thing is if you're out enjoying this beautiful weather, out walking, avoid distraction. Okay. Keep your head on a swivel, and always assume that the driver doesn't see you. And if you abide by those rules, then you're going to be a lot safer. And that's what we want. We would rather people not get hurt.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with North of the Broad. Stay tuned.